Right, I think we're ready to go. Morena koutou. Welcome to the 6-month reports from our council-funded agencies. We've got a morning full of not going. Oh, there we go. Our first presentation is from Sport Canterbury, and I'd like to welcome Megan, Alice and Anna. They have got a PowerPoint and presentation for us. I think what we'll do is we'll just leave questions until the end of the presentation, if that's okay. So off you go. Take it away, Alice.
Cool. Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Alice tuku ingoa no Hakatiri Aho. As most of you hopefully know me by now, my name's Alice Brading. I'm the Community Advisor with Sport Canterbury for the Mid-Canterbury region. The work I do is around play, active recreation and sport for the region. I've been in the role about a year now, so feet firmly on the ground. Still reasonably new at this reporting business, so bear with me today. I'll let my colleagues introduce themselves and then we'll kick off with what we've put together for you guys today.
Kia ora koutou. My name's Anna Holland and I work for Sport Canterbury, Mid-Canterbury in the Healthy Active Learning department. So this is coming up to my 3rd year and I work across 10 primary schools in the Mid-Canterbury region.
Kia ora koutou katoa, ko Megan Harlett tōku ingoa. My name is Megan Harlett. I'm the Sector Support Manager for Sport Canterbury. I'm based out of the Christchurch office. My work involves supporting the play, active recreation, sport, tūmanua, women and girls and regional programs across our vast region. Really excited and proud to support Anna and Alice here today.
Cool. So just before we crack right into it, just want to acknowledge the picture on your screen up there. That is the Ashburton College Kapahaka group. They performed at the Sports Awards 2024 for us. They opened up the evening and I think anyone who was there on the night would agree with me. They were amazing. Lots of skill, lots of mana, and yeah, makes for a great photo for our region. So just here, what is the most important thing in the world? He tangata, he tangata, he tangata. It is the people, it is the people, it is the people. This is a quote we see in Sport Canterbury alongside our values. It's one that resonates to me as, in my opinion, it sort of speaks to the why we do what we do here at Sport Canterbury. So today, basically, we're just going to bring to life a bit of the work that we do in the region. And the first topic I want to sort of talk to is our healthy active learning that's done in Mid-Canterbury. So up there you can see the broad outcomes, or 6 of the broad outcomes that we aim to achieve through healthy active learning. Healthy active learning has a facilitator, which is Anna, and a community connector, which I work in that space, as well as Kayla Brew, who works with Sport Canterbury in the South Canterbury office, but also does some work in the Mid-Canterbury region. So one way we achieve a couple of those outcomes is through our kaiako and tamariki modelling. I'm going to get Anna to speak to what this looks like, as in her facilitator role she really leads this mahi.
So some of the mahi I've been doing in our schools across Mid-Canterbury has been some modelling. So modelling to staff as a whole, or working one-to-one with staff or in syndicate areas. They are all very capable in this area, but it's just building probably more on confidence around what quality PE looks like, feels like, sounds like for their tamariki. So we have been in almost all of our schools running some PD sessions either after school with just staff or during school time, taking their class out, modelling what a quality PE lesson will look like, meeting the needs of their students, doing some team teaching with them, and then following that up, going back in and doing some observations as well.
Cool. And I just want to point out to the top left photo there, that's a professional development session we're running with our healthy active learning teachers twice termly that we've recently started. So that is professional development on what we see the needs are within our schools. So that's from Kai Aiko coming to us and saying that they potentially needing more support in certain areas within the HPE curriculum. And for 2025, we look to open that up to teachers outside of the healthy active learning space for other Mid-Canterbury school teachers. So I think here pictures speak louder than the words when we say we go in and do some chalk bombings or play activations. So these are some photos which showcase the chalk bombings we've done in some schools. Chalk bombings are more than just going in and providing a on-the-day play activation. They give us great insight into the spaces within our schools that could be enhanced. They also encourage kids to do this activity out of school, so really barrier-free with low cost. They can go home, get mum and dad to purchase some chalk and make play activations for themselves within their own environment. So from doing these, we not only seen a great response from the children during the utilisation of these play activations, we also had great feedback from the teachers. So it incorporate numeracy, literacy, as you can see there's some numbers on the bottom left. But it also showcased us how important it could be to have these in the schools. So from that we accessed the Mid-Canterbury play budget to be able to purchase permanent stencils. So lovely model Anna on the TV there beside a plastic looking stencil. So we've got those purchased, they belong and live in Mid-Canterbury. They are free for our community schools and community organisations to utilise. They can be placed within the schools, painted on, and then just enhance that ability to access play and movement in any spaces.
And there's a whole range of stencils. So we've got like letters, numbers, hopscotch, which is also written in Te Reo Māori. Spinning, jumping, hopping, skipping, lots of different stencils for the schools to use, and we've broadcasted that with them all, so hopefully they'll use them.
Yeah, hopefully you'll be seeing them around some community spaces as well in the near future. So another bit of our work we do is regional hui's, where we team up with South Canterbury, Sport Canterbury team and deliver hui's to our Healthy Active Learning School principals, teachers. So the first hui was for Healthy Active Learning leads, and our second one was for principals, which was held here in Mid-Canterbury. Anna, do you want to speak any more to what that sort of looked like?
Yep, so with the, just the lead, so that was a lead staff member in each of our Healthy Active Learning schools. We run them alongside South Canterbury, and then this principals hui we had was more targeted to principals and senior leadership, and with that we partnered with Te Whatu Ora and the Ministry of Education. And they were both, really awesome days, and we had 9 out of our 10 principals present at the principals hui, which was really good in gaining some momentum and getting us into the schools more at a strategic level, which is exactly what we're wanting, and some really cool things have come off the back of these hui.
So to sort of put that into a bit more of a picture, here's a couple of streams of our work that we've done. So playground mapping project. Playground mapping is where a community connector within the Healthy Active Learning space will go into the school and look at the play environment. So that is talking to the tamariki, getting student voice, what they like, what they don't like, what they have access to do, what sport equipment is out for them, where they're allowed, boundaries, etc. It really captures both the negative and positive aspects of their play environment. In the intermediate school, Kayla Frew did this playground mapping, which she did an amazing job. She then collated it into a report. The report has in it not only the areas that she's seen as being either positive or negative in that space, it identifies barriers, and it has a huge range of recommendations leading from small changes that can be made to some bigger changes that could be thought about. From there, the school then gains that report and has access and can do with that report what they would like. And then on the other side of it, which actually happened sort of not long after the playground report was done in the school, we had the principals hui, Within that hui, there was a big focus on the play environment, the importance of it, and the impact on tamariki's learning, alongside really talking about whole school strategic approach, so the importance of leading from the top for our principals. After that hui, the playground report was sent to the school, and we just really found a huge traction from that school. The staff, leading right from the top with the principal, was really motivated to make changes. On the report, they actually looked at every recommendation that was there to influence a better play environment for the children at intermediate school. Anna was heavily involved in doing this mahi alongside Kayla, so I'll get you to speak to just what that looked like on the week you went in.
Yep, so we went in and ran a staff meeting and shared some of the findings from the report. And then a week later, we went in and ran a trial week. So Kayla and I went in every morning tea and lunch break to support the staff around offering lots of different things for the tamariki to do during these breaks. They found there was a lot of kids just wandering around with nothing to do. There was a lot of, well, not a lot, but there were some behavioural issues and kids just didn't have a lot to do. There was lots of barriers put in place, so we tried to break down some of those barriers with them. We also recommended getting the staff to come out for the last 10 minutes of each day of big play break to interact with not just their students but other students within the school. The weather was really average for the whole week, which was a shame, but anyway, we still created some really cool things. They had things set up in the hall, they had badminton, they had table tennis, they had jump jam going in a classroom. The kids didn't have to buy into it, but a lot of them did. We had the PE shed open at every play break. We had our pals running the PE shed. At long break over at McLean's Park, we had the rugby scrum bags out, the rugby balls out. Brent Gray was over there kicking the rugby balls over the rugby posts. It was a really, really awesome week. After that, we sent out a survey to the staff to get their feedback on it. And Kayla and I just went in last week to meet with Brent and Robin around some next steps for next term, and then going in fresh for 2025, putting some new systems in place. It's been awesome to have Brent and Robin and SLT right from the top helping us create those small changes, and they are going to, Brent is going to make it an expectation that every day at the end of big play break, all staff will be out for that last 10 minutes. They don't have to have their active wear on, running around getting all sweaty, but they will be out there interacting with the students. And hopefully we're going to track some progress, track some data around just behavioural issues in the playground. I'm reassuring them that this will make a big impact, and everyone will buy into it eventually, and that it will take longer than a term, but it will just become the new norm. And it's pretty cool to see that they're willing to make a few small changes like this that will create big impact. So it's been really awesome mahi, and AIS have been really, really awesome to work with.
So huge change in the school, impacting 350 students and their ability to be more active, play more, and have greater connections through that, and then also the other positive effects like the behaviour and the relationships with their teachers. So a bit of mahi there to showcase that. PALS, Anna just mentioned it, PALS stands for Physical Activity Leaders. This is something Sport Canterbury run with our schools in the region. They put forward their senior students, whether that's year 5 or 6 or 7 or 8, depending on the school system that they're in. They come forward, and we had 6 of our Sport Canterbury staff come together at the EA Network Centre to provide this training for these students. We look at how they can best deliver physical activity within their school for other students. So we give them all the learnings and all the resources, tips and tricks along the way, how to make it fun, how to make it inclusive. They have roles, they have a step process that they work by, and then the ultimate goal is they go back to their school and are able to facilitate fun games within their school for other students. So it's a real big leadership piece for the seniors of their schools, but it's really beneficial and they seem to love it. So the PALS program had a bit of a refresh this year, so it was a full new program, which was really exciting for us to deliver. which just met the needs better than we've seen in the past. Here's a photo of the training day. So 6 staff came down with 10 different schools, and we delivered it to about 110 students that all then went back to their schools. We also went into intermediate school to deliver the PALS training to them as they couldn't make it on the day. And we go in continuously through the year to make sure that the PALS program is running as best it can with PAL training refreshers and bits and pieces to support the PALS. COSARS is something that we have been partnering with Mid Canterbury's Kahuiako to facilitate COSARS events. COSARS stands for Connection of Small and Rural Schools. These are our schools in our community that are smaller numbers for the senior students, generally year 7 and 8, and sometimes year 8 on their own. So we have been facilitating basically the events that the COSARS come to. Done in all different ways. We're aiming for 1 a term. We've done three so far. The 4th one has been postponed, and then look to do 2 in term 4 coming up. Really great initiative. The idea behind it is, as we can see in a lot of reports, there is a drop-off with rangatahi in that physical activation space. So the idea behind COSARS for these small and rural kids is they're building connections with other children that are in a similar situation. The idea then that they go to college and have more connections, more friendships, friendlier faces, more likely to go and join a sports team or be physically active in that space when they move on to high school. Active As is another thing that you may have seen. It is with Ashburton College. It's amazing. The work going on there is amazing. We've just come off the back of a colour run, which was really great. Lots of rangatahi running around, lots of different abilities, different groups, different people, and it's all around enhancing the well-being of rangatahi through physical education. The idea behind this was also to help with attendance within their school space. It is all rangatahi-led, so the ideas, the concepts was all from rangatahi voice. So instead of looking at it as, I've put this here, why aren't you picking it up and playing with it? We're going, what do you want to do to be active? What do you and your friends want to be doing? And it's their voice that has led this program. So that's a bit of a brief snippet on what's gone on in 2024 so far, and we will continue to support this initiative as it rolls out. Do you want to say anything to that, Megan?
Just briefly on Active As, this was an initiative between Sport New Zealand and the Ministry of Education that was launched at the back end of 2023. Our role as an RST was to identify schools within our wider Sport Canterbury region that may benefit from the Active As investment. The investment is in excess of $300,000 into the school over a 3-year period, with the sole purpose of improving educational outcomes and well-being in young people through engaging them in physical activity, with the intent that that will then lead to increased physical activity outside of the school gate as well. So the work that the team here have done in collaboration with some of our Christchurch-based colleagues to, one, drive the internal school initiative, but also to connect with community organisations. And one of the best examples recently was with badminton.
Yep.
And
badminton.
Having Mid Canterbury Badminton involved in one of their initiatives, and the link between the young people and the older people that run that badminton program has been phenomenal. Grace Ward, who is our rangatahi lead out of Christchurch, was at the New Zealand Secondary School RSD conference, Regional Sport Directors Conference last week, and Ashburton College's Active As project was held up as the shining light across New Zealand.
It's pretty cool.
It's been really well supported by the community as well, which is really great to see, and the Y supports them a lot.
Yeah, a really cool pilot project with Y, collaborating and demonstrating, developing a leadership program.
And you can see the photos up there, the tamariki, or the rangatahi, at the EA Network Centre. So there's been a really good link between the EA Network Centre and the Active As program as well. So showcasing is that somewhere a safe space to go to get their physical activity needs met. So that will hopefully, they will be more likely to go back there and use the facilities outside of the Active As program. So just a wee snipper on the Sport and Recreation Awards, because it was my first one and I wasn't the only one there. So great evening. We had Hayley Whiting, who is from Ashburton, and speak, and that was, for me, one of the highlights of the evening. You've seen the photo of our kapa haka performance at the start of the evening, which was wonderful. 200 individuals were able to attend. We had 10 categories, 2 Mid-Canterbury legends inducted, which Trev on the left there features on this photo, and 4 amazing volunteers really highlighted in the night. Great way that we can support the sporting community in Mid-Canterbury by having this event, especially for our volunteers, our coaches. We are reliant a lot on volunteers and people giving up their own time, so to be able to celebrate them this evening was really important. And then just some photos here just to showcase how Sport Canterbury has been collaborating with other organisations within the community. So I really love this side of the mahi, collaborating and working with our other organisations. We have amazing community organisations here in Ashburton and in Mid-Canterbury. So that top right photo is from the Kai for Kids, Coin for Kids fundraising appeal that they had earlier in the year. Anna and I were able to jump in to provide a physical activity component for the fundraising appeal by providing a full school activations for 2 of our Healthy Active Learning schools. On the left, the Bike Skills Park, really heavily involved in that, and really excited and privileged to be involved in that, and to be able to really speak to play and active recreation in that space. Bottom right is from a Ageing Well Expo, which we've just done another one of, and again, a really cool space to be involved with other community organisations around that physical activity component for the older adults within our community. Bottom left is from Orienteering, which has been a really cool piece within the community. We have one person in Ashburton who is a part of an Orienteering club in Christchurch, Raymond Nicholson. He is amazing, and from connecting him in with one of the schools who wanted to give Orienteering a go, he's since had several other offers or requests from schools to come in and do Orienteering. It is a great way to be physically active. It involves a bit of math, it involves teamwork, and it's really for all abilities. It is one that we've worked together with Ray now to do Orienteering as part of a COSARS event. The other side of that was Richard Wood within EA Network Centre, conversations had with him in the space and going, actually, yep, can see the potential in Orienteering. Also went in, were able to obtain Orienteering equipment so that it can be utilised without the barrier of Ray having to go up to his Christchurch Orienteering club to get the gear. So just removing those barriers so that it's more available for our schools to be able to do this. We are also looking to get a Te Manawa fund for Orienteering in the community so we can further support it and remove those barriers of costs that potentially are involved. And then just bottom middle was just Anna and I's moment to shine at the Rural Women's Conference. We weren't their intended guest speaker. They had an amazing guest speaker that was going to talk on food and nutrition, and she ended up pulling out last minute. So we got a phone call sort of 3 days before from one of the ladies at the Rural Women's Mid-Canterbury team to say that they needed a guest speaker and would we be able to speak to women's health and wellness. So we were able to jump in there, and we really enjoyed our time, and the crowd was great, and I think they were pretty happy. So it was just one wee highlight of how we were able to support another organisation within our community. Yeah. So over to you, Megan.
Yep, so I just wanted to take this opportunity firstly to acknowledge and thank the Ashburton District Council for your ongoing support and contribution with Sport Canterbury to enable us to achieve our outcomes within this district. You will have noticed through both the written report that you've received and the very brief presentation we've been able to give today that there have been some outstanding outcomes over the last 12 months, and the breadth and depth of work that we've been able to achieve in this region is a result of a really intentional weaving across our business units and our teams at Sport Canterbury to enable us to achieve greater impact across our broader region, but specifically into the Mid-Canterbury district. What I thought I'd do just really, really briefly, I'm conscious of time, is give you a little bit of information around where we sit within Sport New Zealand. Sport New Zealand have just renewed their strategic outcomes for the next 4 years, so you may be aware that Sport New Zealand had 12 years of a 12-year strategy broken into 3 4-year cycles. We've just come off the back of our first 4-year cycle, which lines up really nicely with our investment period with yourselves. Over the next 4 years, Sport New Zealand have made minimal change, and we're really lucky from a governmental political perspective. We're seen as bipartisan. Sport New Zealand isn't really impacted irrespective of which government is in power, and so there's been minimal change to what it is that we're being asked to do from a Sport New Zealand perspective. Up here is the Sport New Zealand group strategy. In the last 2 years, Sport New Zealand has become a bigger beast, and it now incorporates what you guys know of as Sport New Zealand and High Performance Sport New Zealand. Really tiny writing, and I apologise for that. But what we are now working towards is 4 key strategic priorities from a Sport New Zealand perspective, and you'll see that this lines up brilliantly with the work that we're doing here in Mid-Canterbury. Firstly, strategic priority 1 speaks internally, and that's about becoming a more capable and resilient partner organisation to Sport New Zealand. But strategic priority areas 2, 3 and 4 resonate really well. We're aiming to achieve quality opportunities and experiences, empowered local communities in Hapori and active schools in Kura. And if you reflect on the last 25 minutes that Anna and Alice have presented to you, that is really where we're pitching ourselves in Ashburton District with the work that these 2 ladies are doing. The other thing that has happened over the last 12 months is Sport Canterbury renewed and was re-awarded Governance Mark, which is a really significant piece of work. It took about 18 months to complete. And one of those things was the development of an outcomes framework, which lines up not only with this, but also our contractual arrangements with Ashburton District Council. Ashburton District Council, we report to you against 3 key areas: leading, enabling and providing. From an internal perspective now, there are 3 things that we're trying to achieve. The first is to strengthen the system through enhancing organisational and individual capability of our partners, activate opportunities in physical activity through participation in programs and events, and I think that has been really well demonstrated today, and finally to provide and show leadership, advocacy and influence to the sector, which we strive to do on a daily basis. And as I said at the beginning of this, we'd like to acknowledge and thank you for your contribution and support of us over the last specifically 12 months, but obviously far greater than that, so thank you.
Cool, so that concludes our presentation, ending on the wonderful photo of our legends housed at the EA Network Centre, and thank you EA Network Centre for making that happen.
Thank you. That was a fantastic presentation. I didn't know what you were worried about, Alice.
Oh, thanks.
So good. Yeah, lots to. The photos were great. I think that's exactly what we want to see. And we had a youth forum here at council on Monday, and a lot of the kids reflected on sports and having new sport fields and getting out and being active. So obviously that message is definitely filtering through. We'll go now. We've got time for a few questions, so we'll go to councillors. We've got Councillor Hooper first.
Thank you. Thanks for the presentation, ladies. It was awesome. What are they teaching? I may have asked this 6 months ago. What are they teaching at Teachers College around PE?
Do you want to answer that, registered teacher?
If you do, you start.
No, you go.
The challenge that we have is we have no influence over what is being taught at Teachers College. Sport New Zealand has no influence over what is being taught at Teachers College. That is a curriculum that is set by each individual tertiary institution. What we know and what Anna's job is that potentially the physical activity and physical education and health curriculum hasn't necessarily been as broad or as deep, especially at primary school level, where, with no disrespect to primary school teachers, you go in there and you become a teacher of every subject as opposed to secondary school teaching where you are a specialist in an area, and that has been recognised by both the Ministry of Education and Sport New Zealand, hence the Healthy Active Learning Programme. Anna.
What Megan said. I do believe there's not a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. Not enough, anyway.
Okay. Question 2, if I may.
Yep.
The sports awards, can you explain what you did with junior awards and the reasoning behind that, please?
I can absolutely jump in
Okay.
there. Yeah, look, we appreciate that there was a significant shift here in Mid-Canterbury, and there are 2 rationale behind that. One is to align with our values and our philosophy of Sport New Zealand. We are supported, we're funded by Sport New Zealand, therefore Balance is Better is a significant piece of what we do and we deliver. Balance is Better is a philosophy that says that we have to provide quality opportunities and experiences for all young people to engage in sport and physical activity, irrespective of stage, age and motivation, but we do not support the specialisation of sport or, I'm going to leave it at specialisation of sport under about the age of 15 or 16. That is not something we promote, and it's not something that we're going to openly advocate for. So a decision was made on the back of that, and also to align our Mid-Canterbury Sports Awards with the other sports awards that we support across our region to ensure that we have standardisation of categories where it is appropriate. We made the decision that having the young junior athlete category was not in line with our values and the work that we are promoting and supporting our organisations on. We feel that there are opportunities for those young people to be celebrated, thank you, that's the word I was looking for, within their own sporting communities, be it the sport themselves or in their school settings, but we are not going to promote that as it falls outside our remit with Sport New Zealand.
Can you lodge my dissatisfaction with that, please?
Certainly.
Thanks, Phil. Councillor Todd.
Thank you. In the presentation, also I think intermediate with the case study, you talked about barriers that you had to jump over or get over.
Yeah.
Can you, just expand on that a wee bit? Or
Yeah.
what sort of barriers were you experiencing?
So some of the barriers were just rules that were existing in the school, such as no bigger groups than, I think, was it 3 or 4 sort of hanging out together. The PE shed wasn't open, free of access.
Okay.
There was reasons behind these rules that were in place, but it was sort of going, yes, they are there, but this is what it's stopping, and then going, yeah, let's trial it without it and see what goes wrong and what goes right and what we can see at the end of it. Yeah.
Cool. Another one?
Yep.
I read in the paper, or I was on the news or something, that there was a principal delighted that he had a window broken because a kid had sort of kicked a football through it, and that was being put down to the banning of cell phones, that there was now more activity in the playground and that sort of thing. So I suppose my question is, since the banning of cell phones, how have you found the experience of dealing with kids that are now not on their phones but actually being active in the playground?
I think with the kids not having the phones to use within the schools needs to happen for more reasons than just to make them more physically active. That sort of sits within the schools to answer what they've seen on a day-to-day basis, but what I can say from the outside is kids also need to remember and relearn sometimes how to play. And when they've been on their phones at home and that's their norm, or technology is their norm, sometimes it is about going in and doing an activation to rejuvenise and remind them that actually play is out there, and they don't have to grow up too fast, which is a big piece of that play work we're doing in primary schools, is to actually just enjoy playing, enjoy climbing trees, enjoy using the playgrounds in different ways.
And I think our other learning that we've seen from a school, acknowledging that it's in Christchurch, but who's also in this Active As program, one of their reflections, so that came from Mount Albert Grammar, that's observation. One of their reflections has been, however, that when a void is created, something has to fill that void, and so the void has been created. Young people are no longer allowed to use their cell phones in schools. Unless there is something there to activate them, they will find their own trouble. So that's where the work that Anna and Alice have been doing in the primary school space and Active As with your college are really, really critical, that we don't leave this void that is then filled by something else. So the removal of phones, phenomenal. What's sitting behind it?
Thank you. That's really good. Lynette.
Have you got tailored programs for the kids that are in time out, or the kids that have been bullied, to gain their confidence and correcting behavioural problems and that? Do you deal with that, or do they just get left?
We don't necessarily deal with behavioural issues or time out because we're not in the school in the curriculum time as such, but we do work in when we are modelling our health and PE sessions on how to deal with behavioural issues. So one of the things we do is actually embracing chaos, and it's going, okay, this student is being a bit disruptive. Thank you, Megan. How can we give him a special task to do within what we're providing, or can he be my special helper on the day, or have I noticed that he's been a really great helper, and bring out the positives within these students, and really work with the teachers in that space to go, you know, don't get too stuck up on the disruptions, focus on what what the rest of the group is doing, focus on the good parts, look at the positives, and really that's all about that quality PE that we provide in our professional development session as to how to sort of work with those disruptions and how to embrace the chaos as such.
And I think that's a really important distinction to make here, is that the work that Anna and Alice do is with the teachers, it's not with the students. So we understand that the biggest impact we can have is through supporting and educating and upskilling those that have the connection to those young people. One of the other asides to that is through Tū Manawa, we have in the past supported a small number of schools to develop sensory type spaces for exactly the reasons that you're talking about.
We're just being successful in one of our schools. They are setting up a rough regulation room, and it's sort of targeted at neurodiverse students, but it's actually open to anybody that needs to use this space. So they are buying a heap of gear, they've got an allocated room in their school, and students can go there whenever they feel they need to go there. It doesn't just have to be at break times, and a lot of different gear than just your traditional PE sports gear that they can go in and bash about or do what they need to do to emotionally regulate themselves. And another one of our wee rural schools hasn't really been my mahi, but supported one of the teachers there just setting up an emotional regulation space in her classroom for a couple of students that she has, but she's actually found that there's probably about 8 of the students that actually like taking themselves to the space when they need to, and that's at break times as well, so not just in the classroom space.
And in regards to your commenting on the bullying side of things, a lot of the work when we're in there with students, we really work on that inclusion. It's a huge piece of our work. So little Timmy might not necessarily be as good at catching the ball, but how cool it is to have that inclusion piece there. So empowering and having students learn and be the way that they deliver their sports clubs and things as well, like through PALS.
Thank you. Carolyn,
Thanks. Just a quick question. I noticed on High Performance Sport in New Zealand, one of the goals was to increase participation in high performance sport in New Zealand. And I'm just following on from Phil's comment. How do we then transition our gifted children, like there's a few gifted kids in Mid Canterbury that weren't recognised at the awards night, into the high performance sport if we're not acknowledging them in those at that level? I understand acknowledging them in their code, of course, that would come anyway if you're at that level, and I understand in their schools, but I think I also sort of agree a little bit with Phil. I think these kids need support and acknowledgement that they've achieved above and beyond what is, great. And if we want to move them, transition them from Sports Mid Canterbury to high performance sport, which is a stated goal, I think we need to acknowledge them and their progress and their ability.
So I'm more than happy to answer that one. What we don't have time or space to do today is Sport New Zealand, as part of their strategic program for the next 4 years, has just released something called the Sporting Pathways Framework, which speaks specifically to the transition processes from entry level through to transition out of performance sport. One of the key things, so Sport New Zealand, High Performance Sport New Zealand have worked collaboratively on this piece of work. From their perspective, high performance sport in New Zealand currently, there are 220 athletes in New Zealand that are identified as high performance athletes, and that is it. High performance from Sport New Zealand's perspective starts, each NSO is responsible for determining what performance is, but no NSO in New Zealand has identified high performance programs under 20 representation. So despite the fact that some sports choose to send away New Zealand teams at under 13, under 15, under 17, they are determined to be pathway participation teams, they are not performance teams. So they have developed a really strong pathway which demonstrates what the transition process is through each of those phases and the role of clubs, RSOs in that piece of work. And we were fortunate enough, I'm going to say at the start of this year, to be able to facilitate a session where the RSOs within Mid Canterbury were able to engage in a session with Andrew Ellis from High Performance Sport New Zealand, who talked them through that and what that would look like for their athletes. The other thing that we've been really proud to support is the Tātai Whetū program for some identified talented athletes here, which is part of that wider piece. So I think everything has to be understood within context. Today is not the time, unfortunately, but there is a really good piece of work that has been produced that is being socialised across the sporting sector.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Megan, Alice and Anna. That was a great presentation. Keep up the good work. Doing a great job. Just
Thank you
wondering
for
if
having us.
maybe you could email through that the PowerPoint that you just
Yeah,
did,
absolutely.
so we can have it there. But thank you very much.
Thank you very
Enjoy the
much.
rest of your day.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, yeah. We'll get those. Yeah, they're just out in the. Thank you. Next up, we have the Braided Rivers Community Trust Ashburton Event Centre, and we have Roger and Jim. Is that right?
That's right.
Good. So you know just to turn on the right side. Yep. And councillors, you will have read the report that's in Stella, and we'll do the same. We'll just get you to go through the report, and then we'll take questions at the end if that's okay.
Thank you. And again, thank you for the opportunity to come and discuss where we're at with the event centre. I'd have to say that this is probably one of the better reports that I've been able to bring in the most recent years. It has turned a corner, and you know the last financial year has been a very successful one. Built mainly around a returning audience, so box office sales are certainly increased, and revenue from venue hire has certainly increased. So looking at it from where we were 2 years ago, it has been a huge turnaround, and it's very pleasing to see. There has been quite an increase in, well, not so much a large increase, but an increase in community support. So community events at the moment are around 64% of our bookings, which is quite high, and I think it sort of represents where we sit as far as supporting community events at the event centre. They do feel now that it is a place that they can utilise, and it's certainly something that we encourage. It is a huge part of the revenue that we get from the community events is quite significant. While we do a community rate, where we make up on that is the support we do provide the community events for technical services. So that's lighting, sound, technicians, and it all helps them create actually a better event for the organisation. When you look at it from the Operatic Society or Variety Theatre Ashburton, Children's Theatre, Big Little Theatre Company, all those organisations, they're primarily run by parents, and they don't have the technical expertise, so they rely quite a bit on the event centre to make their events work. And I think the support that we can offer them certainly lifts their event to a higher level. And the spin-off from that is, their audience enjoys it more. It's a more professional looking event, and at the end of the day, that creates a returning audience for their shows. Same with school productions, they're quite big now. Christian School, they have recently just done a production there. They were in there for nearly a week and a half rehearsing. The good thing with the Christian School is they actually utilise the students to operate every facet of the production. So they'll have technicians, lighting, sound, all in training, and as well as the students putting the show on themselves. We work alongside them as far as a training opportunity for those kids, and it's great to see that younger age group coming through, like the technical side of production is something that kids probably don't feel as though that they can achieve or work in. The way that the technical side is now, it's very much computer based, which kids are very familiar with, and it doesn't actually take a lot of work to get them up to speed with how to make these things work. So it has been quite good working alongside the Christian school to make, to get those kids involved. The other school that we have started working with is Wakanui School, which is a small rural school. They don't have the facilities at the school, so they now bring their production to us. And the productions that they do, yes, they're kids' productions, but they're very well done. And for the amount of time that they spend in the venue, you've got to say that the kids themselves, from being there for the first day through to the day of the production, you can see the confidence grows, and it's very rewarding to see that sort of thing happening. And it's, we're very much involved in trying to encourage those schools to come to us now and work alongside them to put their productions on. Just moving through, you'll have seen the report with where we're sitting as far as the use of the venue. The auditorium was down slightly on previous year. I think that's just a fair reflection of the number of touring events that have been through. They're certainly still down, and there is some talk of an improvement, but yeah, it's still very slow and very hard work to get promoters on board. One of the things that concerns me a wee bit at the moment is you may have heard that Timaru's struggling to get a venue back up and running. We've been working alongside Timaru as far as our business model and how the venue works. I think where the South Island struggles at the moment is there's not the venues for touring events to come through. And if Timaru was to come back on board, I think that would be a big advantage for a promoter looking to come into the South Island, knowing there's a definite tour route from Blenheim and Macau back up the west coast again. But I think not having Timaru in that mix is probably a bit of a deterrent for the promoters to come this way. So we're working alongside Timaru Council quite a bit there and just trying to explain how we operate. And hopefully that will have some sort of spin-off in the future for them, because they desperately need another venue down there. It's good for us at the moment because we do get a lot of people coming up from Timaru. But yeah, I think the downside of it is the fact that there's just not the tour route for the promoters to come through at the moment. Bradford Room certainly increased. So we've gone from 79 events up to 120 in this financial year, which is great to see. That's all corporate events, and that spins off into the trading arm, the catering and food and beverage. So that's great to see all that coming back again. But generally across the board, it has been a very busy period. Like, it was very quiet. I think if you remember the first 6 months report, it was very quiet January, February, March. And it has certainly bounced back quite strongly since then. So very pleased to see all that coming back on board. Conference and meetings, again, very strong. I did have some concern with the number of venues being opened around the district, for meetings, that we may start to miss out on some of that, but it doesn't seem to have been a huge effect to us. We still get our regular clients coming back. A lot of it's agricultural based training seminars, that sort of thing, which is great to see. The Bradford Room's very well set up for that type of event, and especially the multi-day events, although they tend to not be as big as they used to be. There's not so many multi-day ones, and it's also quite obvious the number of people that are coming to them are quite a bit smaller. So I don't know whether that's, a financial thing for the organisation deciding, we'll just do a smaller event. But yeah, the scale of the events have definitely, you notice they've been pulled back quite a bit, even as far as catering. They don't tend to spend big dollars on catering anymore. Probably the big thing that we've been focusing on over the last 12 months is the upgrade of the venue. Where we're set at the moment is with the, I think we'll have explained quite well, I think the priority 1, 2 and 3 that we've put out as far as the upgrade goes. Where we are at the moment is we've put in a lotto application, which is due December, looking for 360,000, was it? And that's primarily to support the priority 1 upgrade, which is the sound system and networking. To me at the moment, that's probably our Achilles heel as far as having a reliable venue. The sound system's probably 25 years old. Was second hand when it went in, and so I think it's one of those things that you start an event and you cross your fingers and hope that all the hands stay linked throughout it. So I think for the trust and the venue itself, trying to be reliable, that's an essential thing that we've got to upgrade. It's a huge cost. That's why we've put it first. There's no getting around it. We've based it basically on a venue of similar size, and the people that we have on board as far as advising us what we should be doing, they have been in and done sound engineering throughout the building, and they've come back with this concept, which they call line array. It's a very modern thing. Most venues now that are built have the line array sound system installed. And so I think, we will achieve it, but putting that into the venue is going to keep us a modern venue. And again, when promoters are looking at coming through, that's what they want to see. They want to see that, it's a similar system that every other venue in the country is using. They don't have to adapt themselves to work to us. It's, something that they're familiar with and happy to use. We have had comments, I think the last Variety Theatre show, they wouldn't use our sound system. We had to take our system down and they put their own one up, and it's a significant cost to a community organisation having to hire in that sort of equipment. I think the cost was something like $45,000 to hire that equipment in, so it adds a huge sum to the production cost for the organisation. And I think that's just one of those things that we need to get on board and bring our system up to that standard. Just as far as the upgrade, the other priorities at the moment, they're sitting there. We haven't done a lot of work on them. I think priority 1 is what we've been focusing on. So the rest of the other 2 priorities, the refurbishment and the lighting upgrade, they're further down the track. One of the things with the refurbishment, very grateful to the council for the agreement that they've set up as far as 40,000 invested for future use. That will be valuable going forward. I think the board's pretty much agreed that funding will go towards the refurbishment side of the venue, so it's paint and carpets and that side of keeping the venue up to standard. We have actually got a company coming through next week to evaluate the seating in the auditorium, which will be the considerable expense when it comes time to upgrade that. We're certainly not in that sort of territory at the moment where it does need upgrading, but I think it's important we have a realistic idea of what it is going to cost in the future, because it's probably, like, at a guess, I would imagine we're probably looking at around 70,000-80,000 to upgrade the seating, and that's probably recovering, refoaming, that sort of thing. So it'll be a significant cost in the future, but I think it's important that we just have a good idea of what that cost is likely to be. So the company that installed them originally, they're coming through and they'll do an evaluation report on them and come back to us. The rest of the report, like from a financial point of view, as I say, it has been a very successful year. Box office sales were up 10%, and that's great to see as far as an audience coming back to the venue. If you think about the fact that the number of events has been down, but audience numbers are up, so it basically is meaning that we've got more people coming to a fewer events, so that's great. And then the income that we derive from bookings is boosted by that. So it's a win-win situation for us as far as that goes. And then if you also consider the sort of money that the local communities putting into ticket sales, 825,000 in ticket sales for the year, which is a significant amount of money that people are spending on entertainment, and I think that's quite significant to realise in the community as well. In a time when we're supposedly in a bit of a drought as far as people's income goes, I think to realise that people are spending that sort of money on entertaining themselves is quite important, and it's been that way for years. Like I've always said, you go back to even when the war's on, people still want to be entertained, and I think that's quite true today. I think it's an escapism thing where you can go away, go to a theatre and be entertained, and I think that's quite important to have in a community. Just in regards to staff and volunteers, we couldn't be without our volunteers. We've got 38 on board at the moment, and they contributed nearly 2,000 hours last year, which again is very significant. We couldn't run the place without them, and the financial cost of having to employ people in those roles would be exorbitant. So we're very pleased with how we're moving along with having a pool of volunteers. They're all very eager to help, and so they're assisting in everything from ushering to gardening to stagehands, all sorts of different departments. There is training involved in it. We don't just take anyone off the street. They've got to be committed to being partaking in the training side of it, which is our health and safety component. So it's great to have people on board that are committed to that sort of thing and willing to help out. And that's probably about it as far as the report goes. I'm quite happy to take questions.
Thanks, Roger. Go to questions. We've got one first from Councillor Brum.
Good morning, gentlemen. Just maybe a couple of questions. Are you competing with other venues here, or do you think you're the best there? Or is there something?
I think we're always competing.
Yep.
Like we do compare ourselves with the Hotel Ashburton. As far as the corporate market goes, I think entertainment-wise, we probably do stand out on our own as far as the facilities that we have and operate. But there's always competition out there, and it is a matter of basically keeping our technical side of it, I think, to the point where we can offer something different. It's a point of sale type thing where we can offer technical services and support more than what other venues do, and I think that's why a lot of the bigger corporate clients come to us. They want a one-stop shop where they can come in and know that we've got projectors, we've got whiteboards, we've got everything, including technical people there that can help them, plug the laptop in and make PowerPoints work. So I think, from that point of view, I think we do have a slight advantage around the district. We do also, our technical services are used quite a bit off-site as well. So we'll go to the Hotel Ashburton, take the equipment there and set up for an event as well. So we do want to push that a lot more. It has fallen off a wee bit. While I didn't have a technical manager, we did sort of pull back on that a bit because we just couldn't fit it all in. But now that we've got a very good technical manager back on board, that is one area that we do want to push back into and offer those services.
Okay, thank you for that.
Phil?
Okay. The sound system, are touring acts using their own, or so they don't?
Depends. The bigger touring companies will.
Yep.
A lot of the likes of Showtime Australia, those ones that are doing, Bee Gees tribute type shows.
Yep.
They'll use ours if the system's in place. Anyone that's coming in for a one-night event tend to use our equipment because it's very time-consuming to set up their own.
Yeah.
It's probably 50-50.
Okay. So, and if you had the upgrade, with the likes of Les Mis, they would use that upgraded system. Was it failing? Did they just have not a lot of faith in it, or?
It's probably, it's a mixture of things. Like, they probably don't have a lot of faith in it.
Okay.
Because of the age of it. The quality of it, I guess, because the company that they, VTA, had to do the sound for them, it's their name on the sound. And, if people complain about the sound, they won't be worried about the speaker. It's the company that was doing it that was failing.
Okay.
So I think that was their concern, that it's, a reputational thing for them. If it didn't sound good, then, it's their name that's affected, not the VTA's sound system.
Right. One more sneaky one, please. The seating evaluation report, how much is that, or is that a freebie because you're committed to using that seating company, and are you committed to using that seating company?
We're not committed to them. The only reason we've gone with them is they know what's in there already. They installed it originally, and they actually came to us with the offer of doing the evaluation. They're actually in the South Island. They were actually Wellington based, and they were coming down to South Island to do other venues that have done installs in. So it's $1,700 for the evaluation. So it's, there is a cost there, but I think going forward it's valuable that we know what sort of money that we're going to be up for when it comes time to replace them.
Thank you, Lynette.
Just following on to that, you're looking at new seating and that down the line. Has there been a scope done on the outside of the building? Because we look at, you come down the stairs, you look at that roofing, and it looks as though at times it could have a good water blasting. And I know some of the woodwork along the front, you just about poke a finger, and I'm thinking, which comes first, the seating or the outside, the soundness of the building?
Yeah, so the outside's included in that priority side of our upgrade, which is painting, cleaning. I think at the moment we did have a look at the water blasting of that south end of the building the other day, because it does look quite bad up there at the moment.
Yeah.
I've just had a quote from Bradford's for $14,000 to do basically a roof clean and water blast. There's a number of other smaller repairs and that, but yeah, it's managing the cost and the effectiveness of what that money's going to do at the moment. One of our big issues at the moment, and every company in New Zealand will be the same, is power. Our power costs have just skyrocketed. Probably they'll be up, well, put it this way, our average power account a month, 7,000. Last month it was 20,000. So it's very scary when you start getting bills like that, and the month before 16,000. So that's starting to chew into our reserves, which is very disappointing because it's money that we had sitting there for upgrades. But there's very little we can do about it. It's what it is. We've looked at trying to, where we could cut costs as far as power consumption goes. There's really nowhere. Fridges still have to run, lights still have to go on, so heating still needs to be had. So it's one of those things that we've just got to try and absorb and hope it doesn't go for too long.
And the problem with the power accounts, we don't know what we've been charged either to a month after we've actually had somebody in there. So we've got to sort of estimate what we're going to charge the people that are tenanting it.
Yeah, I just hope you focus on the soundness of the building before chairs. So my point now, I've been to a couple of the small productions, and like there've been good numbers there, and people have enjoyed them, and you always hear the comments coming out. Can you do more of those local productions if they bring the people in? And I guess we've still got a lot of local talent out there, is there, that's hasn't been tapped into, or you could use.
There's still opportunity out there to bring more in of the community type production. There's I've got two on the box at the moment that we're looking at as doing as fundraising events, but it wouldn't be until next year. One thing we've got to be careful of is that we don't book the calendar up to the point of, if a touring event or a conference or something like that starts coming through, which is a better paying event, that we haven't run out of room on the calendar, because of excessive community use. So it's a very fine line of balancing those events that bring in good income against the community events.
Richard, you've got a question?
It's to do with priority one. I understand what you're looking to do and why you need to do it, but it's just the fundings. From earlier in the year, you were looking to the Lions Foundation for quite a lot of money, and obviously it was 153 and you got 25, and that's sort of effectively looks like it's been sort of loaded towards Lotto. How confident are you in getting that grant? Because it's a huge amount of money you're looking for, and it's sort of, you could say, almost looking at plugging the hole that's been created by perhaps no success in some of the other ones.
Yeah. So Lotto, I don't think there's any guarantee in getting anything. We have had quite a good meeting with the representative in Christchurch, and she said there was, what we're actually looking at doing is very much in what they determine as far as, that funding's for. So she was very confident. But I think the way funding is through Lotto at the moment, it's certainly down on what it used to be. I don't think there's any guarantees.
So is there a plan B?
Plan B is to go to those other organisations like the Lion Foundation and those that we don't get it through Lotto. We've tried Lotto first of all, and if we can successful there, then we'll go through the other channel. The big issue with Lotto, we haven't had a good relationship with Lotto right from the day one when we were promised $1 million by Helen Clark, and then it ended up going to Dunedin for the China Gardens down there. So, it's something. But I have to say, Roger's right. We had a Zoom call with the people in Christchurch and had a very good dialogue, and everything. We've ticked all the boxes with them, and it looks very promising. That's all. But I don't think we'll get the 380. I'm realistic and say, if we get 200, we'll be very happy.
Thank you. One last question from Tony.
Fine, thank you. With the auditorium, obviously it's seating for $4.99, isn't it, or something? Do you get promoters who are looking for bigger venues that they won't come to Ashburn because we only have $4.99 seats?
Yeah. There's always going to be promoters out there that we're not big enough for. I think when the place was designed and built, we were realistic in saying that there's category A, B and C as far as touring product goes, and we were only ever probably going to attract B and C, which limits you to kind of like the BG's type product. That's not to say that we can't, we have worked in with bigger promoters to bring bigger shows. You've normally got to do a fairly good deal because of the lack of seating. So it's a negotiation thing at that stage with them so it works for both parties. Most of them, well, the ones that we're getting at the moment, they're very happy with where we sit as far as a venue size goes. We sit around, I think it was 85% for most of their events as far as bums on seats. Generally, you know, a promoter will work around a budget of 70%, so that there is money in it for them. Yeah, I think we're quite comfortable with the size of the venue for the district. The problem if we go bigger, and it's something I pointed out to Timaru, the bigger you go, the less suitable you are for smaller events. So being a community focused venue, you start putting 600, you know, a smaller community event into a 600 seat venue, it looks ridiculous. So, and the expense that you'd have to charge that community organisation wouldn't stack up either.
And the reason we put it at $4.99 is we didn't have to go through a lot of fire protection. We didn't have to put in a lot of rules and regulations for the size, so it was left at $4.99 for a reason.
It was a hell of a jump to go from 500 seats to anything over. A lot of the cost came in fire curtains and all sorts of different things that you had to put in.
Thank you. Jim, have you got anything else you'd like to add?
No, I'd just like to thank you people for all your support. I think it's been great, and the $40,000 has been really great. I think you're doing a great job giving us that money. The model wouldn't work without your support, I'd have to say that, you know, and Timaru are aware of that. You know, it's the support of you people in the community that actually keep it going. So this, we've just done a draft balance sheet. I think you've got it. It's an incredible good result. You know, when you take the depreciation out of that, you know, your grant basically covers the overheads, covers the staff salaries basically, and we run the business and make a profit. So it's really good. And the pleasing thing on that report to me was the numbers of people actually have increased in the last 12 months coming in through the venue. And the only issue we've got, and it's a minor issue really, is parking. And that's something we've just got to work through. And I think we'd get more, your question about our competitors, probably the hotel, is that's probably the one advantage they've got over us. They've got good parking out there, and that's probably the one area that we just haven't got. But we've got a good relationship with Newman's, and when the show's on, they let us use their car park, and it's been very good. No, thank you very much to all of you. Sincere thanks to you for your support.
Just one comment back to
your microphone's not working. Didn't work yesterday either.
It's on here. Oh, it must be warming up.
Here you go.
It's just the mic. It's warming up. So, thanks. No, that one's starting too. Here we are.
I know.
Yeah.
Jason, you've got sound problems. I don't think we do have your draft annuals in here.
No, we don't.
They've only just come through.
Okay, but they'll come through when they come through.
Yeah, it's a very good result actually.
That's great. About car parking, you're not going to solve the problem at your place. But what council is doing is the Polytech site.
Yes.
The Polytech's been demolished this year, and that'll be opened up for low cost parking. We call it. It'll be developed at low cost shingle parking, so that'll be available. And it's only probably a 3-minute walk from there to your place. If
I
you
did say
walk that far.
I did say tongue in cheek at your last meeting that would be a good thing, and then you got all the objections about pulling it down. So you know it was very tongue in cheek that I said it would be good.
And only the Balmoral Hall we got the objections with. The Polytech there was none on that. So
We've got a few alternatives we're looking at. We're trying to work with Countdown on a block of land behind the RSA, and we're working with them. We're trying to get negotiations with them if we can use that for shows. You know, there's a big gravel yard. You might see it if you go down there, and it's empty most of the time. So, and Newman's again, and they own across the road now, and they're very receptacle, you know, to us using their car parking, except during the day.
Yep. Right. That's fantastic. Thank you very much, and thank you for all the good work you're doing. We're going to break now for a cup of tea, so you're welcome to join us. Don, I see you at the back, and I think Leslie and Kevin are out in the foyer. You're also welcome to come in for a cuppa, and we'll resume in about 15 minutes' time. Thank you. everyone, to our sixth monthly report from our council-funded agencies. We now have Kevin, Leslie and Dawn from Safe and Mid-Canterbury, and Leslie specifically from Safe Communities. So what we're going to do, Kevin will run through his presentation first, chance to ask him and Dawn any questions, and then Leslie's got a PowerPoint that she's going to share as well. So Kevin, off you go.
Wonderful. Well, Chair, Mayor and councillors and staff, thank you very much for the opportunity to present our end of year report. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation, but Leslie does. I don't know how to make one, but so you'll just have to listen to me talk, unfortunately. I'll start by covering the work of Safe and Mid-Canterbury and then hand over to Leslie, who will talk about the Safe Communities report. You have a full end of year report, so I'll just go through the highlights, but anything you might have read in your report that you have any questions about, please feel free to ask at the end. We've had a very busy year again, delivering services across our district and wider, including service provision now in the Timaru and Waitaki districts. While the lion's share of our work occurs in the Ashburton district, we have 3 areas of work outside of this. We hold a contract to deliver restorative justice services to the Ashburton, Timaru and Oamaru courts, and have 2 staff based in Oamaru. Currently we have 1 staff member in Timaru, but about to recruit a second one, and we have a staff member in Ashburton. We've traditionally delivered this service in Ashburton for many years, but it got to the point where it was no longer financially viable, and the Timaru provider also felt it wasn't financially viable for them along with their Oamaru provider. So we picked up covering all 3 courts, which now makes the service financially viable. And Timaru being the busiest, we do make a little bit of profit on, which allows us to bring that money back into our district and spend it on local things. So that's sort of why we've moved into that. We also hold the contract to deliver attendance services. This has traditionally been for the Ashburton district. However, the Ministry of Education has redefined the boundaries and now has an area called Central Canterbury, which is basically the Ashburton district, but now also includes schools based in the Geraldine area. So we cover all the schools in the Ashburton district for attendance services, but also cover Geraldine High School and Primary School and Woodbury School. We have 1 employee based in Geraldine that covers that area. We also now oversee the Aoraki Food Rescue Service, which is based in Timaru but covers both Ashburton and Timaru districts. There are 4 staff and around a dozen volunteers that work in this service, and they are based in Timaru but travel through to Ashburton 2 days a week to cover the service here and work 3 days a week in Timaru. The 2 big things for us over the year have been the transition to our new building and taking over the Food Rescue Initiative. There was a lot of work involved in the transition to our new building and some disruption as we moved in. It took a while for everyone to settle into the new environment, which was more open planned than the previous environment, but things seemed to have settled well when people came back after the Christmas break. After we moved in, we did have quite a bit of disruption as we had car park work and the car park redone and a lot of work going on for it, which seemed to take a few months, so it's quite hard to work with vibrating rollers and the like working outside your window. The move also came at a significant cost to our organisation, spending around $360,000 to make the necessary alterations to accommodate everybody in the building. We had been putting money aside for the previous 2 years to cover the cost of the building move, so had the capital to cover this. We had known for some time that a move was going to be necessary as we had significantly outgrown our space at Community House and had several staff based in another building in town. It was hard to run a well-functioning service with service split between different buildings. It has, however, provided us with a great space that is fit for purpose and should be more than adequate for many years to come. We currently have 33 staff working out of the building on Moore Street, and we have current desking within this building for 38, so there is some space for growth. The building does have the capacity to fit 8 more desks, which would take us up to 46 if ever required. It's been a very beneficial move, and we look forward to many more years working out of this new space. The other large piece of work we've embarked on is taking over the Food Rescue Service. The Food Rescue Service has been operating in the Timaru district for 4 years, and at the start of 2023 started working in the Ashburton district. The Mid-South Canterbury operation was managed by Food Bank Aotearoa, a large Christchurch-based organisation that provided these services across the Greater Canterbury area. Over 2023, the Mid and South Canterbury operation had collected over 100 tonne of food from grocery stores, food retailers and wholesalers, etc. And this food was distributed to a large range of community organisations and food banks, with food going to families and older people who were struggling. This food is still good and fit for purpose, but is nearing its expiry dates, which make supermarkets take it off the shelf. Traditionally, before food rescue services come into play, much of this food either went for pig food or went to waste. The value of this food is estimated conservatively at about $12 a kg, so over 1.2 million worth of food in 2023 was directed from waste to instead go to people in need. Just prior to Christmas in 2023, we learnt that Food Bank Aotearoa was in financial trouble and had decided to close its doors, laying off all its staff. I received a visit from the local coordinator of the Mid and South Canterbury service, Helen McEwen, saying she wanted to keep it going and could we help to maintain it over the Mid and South Canterbury areas. There was no money, but the service was of high value to our community. Many community organisations relied on it for food that they distributed to their clients and food banks, so we said we would take it on. This was the week prior to Christmas. On the 8th of January, we employed the 4 staff with the hope we could keep it running. We received a very generous donation from a private businessman of $30,000, which would keep us afloat for a few months, in the hope that we could find the income to keep it going. By June 30th of that year, we'd managed to acquire funding in addition to the $30,000 donation of $249,000, $179,000 for operational costs, which is approximately 1 year's operation of the service, and an additional $70,000 towards a new refrigerated van, as the one that came with the service was 20 years old. At the time, we were unsure if we would be able to keep the van. We had met with the CEO of Food Bank Aotearoa, who had informed us that they were selling all of their assets to cover holiday pay while they were laying all the staff off and making them redundant, as they didn't have the cash flow. It was likely that the van would need to be sold, so we looked to find funding for a replacement van. As it transpired, the van wasn't sold, so we were able to keep it. However, its age means that it was well overdue for replacement, and as a key asset for the food distribution, it was imperative that we had a reliable van. We're unable to pick up food from supermarkets and distribute it without a properly refrigerated van, to meet the standards. So if it was broken down, it's not that easy just to find another one quickly in the interim. So it's great that we managed to get the funding. We've also renamed the service to Aoraki Food Rescue and feel confident that we now have the financial backing to sustain the service for the foreseeable future. In the last 3 months, the service has rescued and redistributed an average of 7 tonne of food in Timaru and an average of 5.4 across Ashburton per month. That's a total of 12.4 tonne a month across the 2 areas. So we're well on task to exceed the 100 tonne that was distributed in 2023. The service costs around $175,000 per annum to run, which translates into $1.75 per kg of food distributed, or even less as tonnage increases. And so it's a very cost-effective way to get food on people's plates at a great cost-benefit ratio. All of our services have been very much business as usual and have been covered in our annual report as per your agenda. Of note, however, within this is the refugee service, which is picked up from previous years. Obviously, COVID affected refugees arriving initially, but numbers have increased, and moving into the coming financial year, we expect to get the quota designated for the Ashburton, which is around 110 to 115 individuals. As it currently sits, we have 136 refugees located in Ashburton. 181 have settled here, however 45 have chosen to move on, mainly to Auckland and Christchurch. We do see this as a success because our role is to support refugees to become self-sufficient. And when a refugee feels confident to move their family on their own and self-settle, it means that we've been successful in our role, that these people feel confident they can do that. What we've traditionally seen is families with adult children or older teenage children have been the ones that have tended to move to the cities. And this really has been as these people have wanted to attend tertiary education, other tertiary university and other opportunities, and just that people in their 18, 19, 20, 21 just want to move to the city and have some fun as well, as many young people in Ashburton do. Over the past year, our income has increased as well, with year-end income of 3.6 million excluding GST for the financial year. This is up from the year-end income last year of 2.9 million, so a reasonable increase. The key drivers of this were increases in funding for the attendance services, funding for the food rescue service that we weren't doing the previous year, and new funding across a number of contracts for pay parity. Pay parity was an initiative that saw non-profits able to apply for pay parity for qualified staff to match what they would get in the public sector. Traditionally qualified staff working in the non-profit sector would be paid around 20% less than their public sector counterparts with the same qualification, experience and number of years. And in more senior roles, some disparities were getting up towards 40%. So it was a very good thing that this has been addressed, as non-profits were struggling to attract qualified staff due to the disparity in salary. This has been a bigger issue as the cost of living has increased. We've traditionally found that people choose to work for non-profits because of the want to work for an organisation where they can make a difference and support people. But the cost of living tends to take precedence when people's mortgages go up and things become more expensive to live, and then they will look for the higher paying job as opposed to the one that they might enjoy the most. So it's good to have that pay parity. Looking forward, of note is the substantial cuts recently announced by Oranga Tamariki. 30 million in cuts across the community sector funding. This has affected hundreds of community organisations across the country. And of note for us is two of our services, our youth support service that's been in operation for 18 years, supporting 30 young people per year with high needs, aged 10 to 18, and our family wellbeing service that's been operating for 12 years, supporting 30 vulnerable families per year with young children. This is a loss for our community and organisation, and we're sad to see these services go. Unfortunately, there's very little we can do about it at this time. We still maintain two contracts with Oranga Tamariki and are very keen to maintain a good relationship with them because they know there will be future opportunities and things that we can again bring to this community. So hopefully as what we're presuming in the third budget of the national government will have new things in it and things that we might be able to capitalise on for our community. So we'll be looking forward to that. That covers the main things that we've covered for Safer Mid Canterbury over the past year, aside from our business as usual services. In general, all of our other services have been functioning well, and aside from the two services coming to an end, we remained in a robust position to continue to deliver services for many people across our district. Whilst we're losing 2 staff from the 2 services, over the past year we've picked up 5, so as an organisation we have grown in size slightly over the past 12 months. I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank Council very much for the ongoing support. It's very much appreciated, and the funding provides a very strong base for our organisation to capitalise on and acquire other funding to deliver services for people across our district. I would be very happy to take any questions on what I've had to say or anything that's in our report that I haven't covered.
Thanks, Kevin. We'll go to questions. Lynette, you've got one?
Yeah, just the food rescue, it's a really good operation. Do you work in with all the food banks in town? Do you all get together and split it out, or how does it all work in town?
Yes, yeah. So the food rescue is very importantly not a food bank, so no food is stored. It's simply a distribution service. And so the food rescue service builds relationships with supermarkets, wholesalers, retailers, etc., to collect unwanted food, and then it's distributed. And the service also has a relationship with food banks across Mid Canterbury and South Canterbury, and will provide food to those food banks. So they are, I suppose, a distributor to those food banks. And so the service itself doesn't get involved with distributing food directly to individuals. And it also has around 20 charitable organisations it also distributes food to, and those organisations distribute that on to the clients. So that's how it works. So we're very clear to stick in our lane and make sure that we don't work directly with individuals, but are a distribution service, pick up and distribution.
That's good. It's feeding into those organisations.
So they all work in partnership, but everybody's got their lane and it works very well. Yeah.
Thank you. That's good.
Mayor Brown.
Couple of questions. Welcome, Kevin. The follow on from Lynette, the 175k that costs to run it. So what does that get? What do you do with that 175k?
Mainly salary is the main cost.
What do they do?
So as the organisation sits, it has 4 staff, and it has around a dozen volunteers. It has a base in Timaru, which has a cool room in it and facilities, and it has a base in Ashburton. We operate one van on a Monday, Wednesday and Friday. They drive around all of the supermarkets and the wholesalers they have a relationship with, and they pick up all the food that's been packaged to leave the supermarket because it's no longer to be for sale on the shelves, and they bring that back into the store, and then the volunteers box that up into things to be distributed to the various organisations and food banks, and then it goes to them. And then Ashburton, Tuesday and Thursday, the exact same process happens. They go around the supermarkets and other wholesalers or grocery wholesalers that they have a relationship with, pick everything up, bring it back, package it into the relationship they have with different providers is these are the kinds of things we're looking for, so they'll package it up in certain ways. We have a cool room because sometimes you might go and you might pick up a lot of meat and it's too much to distribute in one go, so that might sit for a couple of days and then get distributed. But yeah, it's kind of how the operation works. It's quite a very simple process. The key is having good relationships with the supermarkets.
And it's given to the recipients.
It is given directly to organisations,
who give it,
community organisations, marae and food banks, and then they distribute it to their client group. Right. So there's a
Thanks.
So they're a charitable food distributor, you might call them. Yeah. Nice. Distribution. Yeah.
Another question: youth support services and family wellbeing service, which you no longer get funded for. Is there anyone else who provides that service or a very similar service in the district?
I think those particular services, there are other services in the district, but everybody's full and busy and has waiting lists. So, there are certainly other providers doing work. Some other providers have been affected by the cuts as well locally, but I don't want to talk to that because I don't have the exact information. It is something that we probably just can't find community funding to pick up and continue to deliver, because we already exhaust every aspect of community funding we can find anyway for services we're already delivering. So it's probably something that will be a loss to the community that we can't pick up, or that other providers won't be able to pick up because there's no additional money for other providers at the moment. So
the effect for the community would be a longer waiting list?
Longer waiting lists, I would presume, because if we were getting 30 young people to our service and other providers had services and they had waiting lists, well then theoretically there will be more people looking for support, but not an increase in services for other providers. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Carolyn?
Thank you. I want to go back to the food collection system, which sounds a wonderful thing. I think you said 5.4 tonnes in Ashburton, is that right? And 7 point something in Timaru?
So over the last 3 months, I looked at the tonnage because we measure it all and we have to report on that. Yeah. And we had 7 tonne in Timaru average per month over the last 3 months when I averaged it, and 5.4 in Ashburton.
Is that, Timaru's larger?
Yes.
So do Ashburton get Ashburton's food and Timaru gets Timaru? So
no food goes between the two areas.
No food goes between.
Yeah.
So do we have a greater need in Ashburton, or is it not really? It's just that it's not all.
It's simply what is left over from the supermarkets.
Yeah, and it's all used.
Yes, yeah. It's all distributed.
That's a great initiative.
Yes, yeah. You might be aware that some of the food banks over COVID had increased funding to distribute more funding, more food, and some of that funding's come to an end. So I think some of the food banks don't have quite the capacity or the income they did have. So I think the ability to utilise some of this food is good. Yeah.
That's good. It's really a sad indictment. We have to, that there is that need, I think, but nevertheless it's good that it's used. And
Yes, yeah. And I think it's quite, I mean, in Timaru, for example, we have a committee, and one of the people on that committee is the owner of Pack and Save in Timaru, who's very passionate about seeing this food redistributed and not wasted.
Yeah.
But it's a very interesting concept because the people that the food is distributed to would probably shop at Pack and Save. And so, you know, it's a business person who's willing to, I suppose, take that cut to make sure that the right people are being supported. So there's some really great people out there that are supporting this. Yeah.
Phil?
Thank you. Kevin, the new refrigerated truck that you got, does that cover both sites? So on the Tuesday and Thursday, does that drive from Timaru up here and do the Ashburton run?
That's correct.
Okay. Have you got plans to buy an Ashburton only truck?
No. I mean, the cost of it was $70,000. It's a van, and the van, we bought an LDV or whatever they call them. They were the cheapest, but it was about $40,000 for the van, and about, excluding GST, and $30,000 to get it refrigerated. And so, no, I think at this present point in time, what we would do if we had a van in each area is have it sitting for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
So it makes more sense to move it between the two sites. There is talk of, you know, hopefully growing it and expanding it over time, and who knows what might happen in the future. But I would think at the present point in time, the van we've got, which is bigger, the one we're getting is bigger than the one we've got currently, would probably see our needs for the next number of years. Yeah.
Thank you. That looks like all the questions. Don, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
Can I have 10 seconds, Madam Chair? Thank you. Firstly, in relation to those staff cuts, it's not just the staff that's cut, it's the whole contract, and some of the money that comes with the contract contributes to overheads or other expenses in the organisation. So the salary is only part of the contract. There are some flow-on effects from those cuts, and that has affected staffing elsewhere in our organisation. So I just want to let you know that Kevin is taking back, if you like, some responsibility that we thought we had taken from him with some rearrangement of staffing, and we've had to cut back on that too. So I'm just saying the implications are not just for the people who lost their jobs, they're for the organisation in the wider sense. We have visited, Kevin and I have visited our local MP to make representations about that. We believe there has been some work on from his end, but I'm not holding my breath for major changes. I guess what I want to say in relation to the organisation is that the people in Safer Mid Canterbury do a stunning job, led by this man, and as you'll hear, led in another area by Leslie. I happened to be at the Art Gallery's annual meeting a couple of nights ago, and I can pass on to you there what I said on the night, that I believe the staff in the Museum and Art Gallery building are also doing a stunning job. So thank you for your support of that institution and Safer Mid Canterbury. That's enough from me. I'm very proud to be associated with this lot, and I hope you are too. Leslie.
Thanks, Don, and just most councillors will know, but Tony and I are the council representatives on the Safer Mid Canterbury board, and Russell is, I suppose, an independent board member as well. Leslie, you've got a PowerPoint for us.
I have. Is that on?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. So I've gone flash this year for my annual report. Doesn't mean that you're giving the program too much money, as Councillor Ellis mentioned to me at morning tea time. Doesn't mean that at all, because I did the whole PowerPoint all by myself. I know you've already had the report, which is a whole lot of verbiage, but I thought what I'd do is show you on the PowerPoint some of the pictures of
your money that you invest in this program actually reaching the community. So there's some photos here that hopefully you'll find of interest that sort of say this is what we're actually trying to do. Okay. Right, so the year in a nutshell, another busy year. Around 30 agencies working together on a whole raft of different programs, trying to keep Ashburton residents safer and make them aware of safety. We did some good stuff over this last year. We did ski roadshow. The Little Hazards in the Home program put through a large number of parents and small children. We've done a lot of falls prevention work for older adults, including one that we had yesterday downstairs here in the library. And we've got increasing numbers for the Connector Community Transport Service. New things that the program took on board this year, over this time, were the Bike Skills Park, and I know you've heard a bit about that this morning from Sport Canterbury. We did a SCAMS road show around 4 local towns. We have started work on an age-friendly Ashburton strategy and action plan, and I put some time into helping with the research on the public transport service for Ashburton Township. Okay, so ski safety, this is the one we did in July 2023. Since then we've done another one, but that will come into the report for next year. So we did 4 local schools, 500 kids heard the messages, and the partners were Mount Hart, who were really blown away by what they heard when those schools ended up on the mountain. They were able to recite all the safety messages back that they'd heard in the schools. And there's Dr. Kate and Boots. They've now moved on, Dr. Kate and Boots. They're now in the Pacific Islands working for Moana Pacifica. So Dr. Boots has taken his snow boots off and he's paddling in the water. And that, I think, is the amazing Cheesy, as he's known, who's the manager of Mount Hart. So he took the time out to go round for the day. Liz went on that as well, and they put through 500 kids in one very exhausting day. And interesting for us, for the 10 to 14-year-old age group, ski injuries are the biggest injury. Everywhere else in New Zealand, it's rugby. But for us, it's ski, because we've got Mount Hart on our doorstep. So that's why we thought, let's get proactive and start pushing those safety messages to the schools that do have a ski trip up to Mount Hart. So that was that one. Okay, falls prevention. So we've done all sorts of stuff on falls prevention. And if you see on the bottom box there, that's all the different partners that come together. So the ability to have strength through numbers is amazing on this program. So all of those different agencies working together, promoting those falls prevention messages. So we did one yesterday downstairs in the library. We did one called April Falls in April, and we had about nearly 300 people through. So that was last year's one, so you can see what it was like, using that wonderful space downstairs, the event space, using the big screen, and there are some of the agencies that were part of that last year. And there's some of the people taking part in a class. I recognise quite a lot of those people actually yesterday. They came to have another go. And yeah, so lots of work that we're doing in that area. And great to have the support of the library. You see all the library bags on the floor that they all get to fill up with goodies when they come around the different stands. And remembering that at the moment, 1/5 of the population of the district is over 65. And that's going to grow. So that's an area, that we need to keep focusing on. So the Little Injury to Children program, this program unfortunately is delivered by the Family Wellbeing Coordinator, who is going to lose her job that Kevin's just referred to. So we need to rethink how we're going to go and run those sessions. So those sessions are about hazards in the home, and she goes around and talks to various groups like Plunket Mothers, preschools, play centres, and runs those sessions and gives the parents a little checklist so that they can go home and have a look for hazards in the home. So she pushed through 189 children in that program over that year. Lot of garbage here, which I won't go through. Mid Canterbury Connector, climbing numbers. Since it started in July 2021, we're pushing up nearly 600 trips. We've done a huge number of kilometres. The numbers are growing. We've been really pleased to partner up with the Rakaia Community Association, who've purchased a new vehicle for Rakaia to be used by their community patrol, Meals on Wheels, and we've been lucky to be able to hire it to run the connector service. So that vehicle is now going Rakaia, Methven, into Ashburton, back to Methven, back to Rakaia, where it's based in Rakaia, and it's taken the load off our wee old vehicle that's our Ashburton vehicle. So it's really great to see that happening. And great bunch of trustees. Again, Liz is there again as the chair of that group, so that's working quite nicely. And we're looking at some promotions like tying things up, such as the 206 Club that the senior citizens run here in Ashburton, promoting that in Rakaia, because we've got one lady already who goes in 2 days, twice a week. She loves it so much. She goes 2 times a week in the Rakaia car down to the 206 Club, and then back home to Rakaia at the end of the day. So we're looking at partnering up with them, seeing if we get some more of those really isolated elderly that we keep hearing about, particularly living in Rakaia, who don't seem to have a lot of social support, and getting them into that program, which is an all-day program with food and activities and lots of fun. Bike Skills Park. Actually, we haven't got a lot of photos now I think about it, but anyway, Bike Skills Park, we had a little bit of a stutter with the Bike Skills Park. We need to form a charitable organisation to be able to apply for funding, and so we're in the process of doing that. But we have amazingly just had some funding confirmed to be able to finish the detailed design and costing of the project. So that's going to go ahead starting mid-October, and that way, by the time we get charitable trust status and we can start applying for the big money for the construction of that facility, we'll have already a plan and a budget that says these are the definitive costs for this facility, and we'll be able to go in and be ready to go. So wonderful to have Tony and Don and Roger Patterson as trustees for that new initiative there. Right, Scams Roadshow. So we went around 4 towns and we targeted deliberately the baby boomer generation. We had about 50 people overall coming, and that was a neighbourhood support, ASB Bank, Digital Waitaha Safe Communities program. Went around, nice small groups, talking to them about scams, bank scams, the whole range of things. It was an absolute eye-opener. A lot of older people in our community are very, very frightened of technology, don't know how to use it or choose not to use it. All of them had a story of someone or themselves who had been scammed. So there's a lot more work that we can be doing around keeping that age group a lot more up to date and safe in terms of particularly things like bank scams. So it was really good to have ASB Bank on board to do that program. Okay, the Safety Village. The Safety Village. Challenging conditions. This was day 1. The hail, the freezing cold. It was 3 degrees. Some of the agencies went home. And this has happened every time we've done this initiative. We get hit by the weather. And yeah, it was a very, very difficult one, this one. That was day 2, same shot from the same place. So we're not going to do the Safety Village this year. We're going to have a step back and do a bit of a rethink and think about how else we can take safety messages out to the community. This one in particular, last year we found the community weren't that interested in safety messages. They were there to have fun. They loved all the giveaways. But, you know, when you're the Foreign Emergency New Zealand Service and it's taken you 3 days to set up and you want to promote bushfires and talk to the community about bushfires and no one wants to stop and talk to you, it's a bit disheartening. So we think we've got the wrong audience this time. There seemed to be a change in how people were enjoying that event, and it is an event to be enjoyed, so we're going to rethink that one. So we still have our wonderful Ashburton Courier newspaper column that we do every month. That's now booked through to about March next year with various agencies doing their safety things, and we try and give them dates like ACADS get December because they do their summer alcohol promotion, so they always get the December column, so they can put that forward and talk to the community about that. And we do a lot of Facebook, a huge amount of network promotion, and we've developed this new Let's Talk Safety And after I developed it, it's a little framework that we can fit different flyers and adverts into. I thought it looks a bit like Let's Talk Tuesdays. So you must have a really good concept, because subliminally I think I've pinched the Let's Talk Tuesday. But never mind. Other projects, so we've already talked about those, the action plan and the strategy for age friendly and the public transport stuff. So thank you very, very much for your support of this program. Thank you to Liz for her rolling her sleeves up for another year. Are there any questions or comments?
Thanks, Leslie. Yeah, it's always a lot of fun. We've got a very good group, steering group, so we have meetings every 2 months, and we usually get sort of an attendance of between 15 and 25 people come along, which is fantastic, and yeah, it's working very well. Go to questions. Lynette, you've got one.
It was just interesting walking through here yesterday, and they're all exercising in that balance class. Like, if you're getting regulars coming back again, will you develop those into regular classes for the elderly once they've got a taste of this through these days?
Yeah, there's actually a huge program. We're very lucky in our district. We've got a huge program of classes, and they happen everywhere. Rakaya, Medvin. So all they were doing was just giving them a taster and then saying, here's the classes, so now come along.
That's really good to know, because it's, you know, and it's a great space down there for some of these activities to take place. That's great.
Phil?
Thank you. I just wanted to say well done. Congratulations on the work you do, especially the scams with our older residents. I just think that's such valuable work. Some of our elderly lose, tens of thousands of dollars of their savings, and if we can stop even one, then that's just absolute gold. So, well done. Keep it up.
Yes, we had a terrible story from one of the participants in one of those programs, and I think it was her father, who had been a financial advisor, lost all of his money on Christmas Eve. He got scammed, and rushing around, not really thinking it through, telephone call, and they lost all of their money. And she told that story, and I thought there's quite a lot of that, so that's an area that we really want to push some resourcing into. And luckily we've got Neighbourhood Support and Digital Waitaha and ASB Bank very, very keen to keep trying to do that work with that older community.
Thank you. Lynette?
I just got a question around the bike schools park. When you get this, your trust up and running, can you get on board and get the information like out to the Lions clubs and Rotary? Yes. Because they do their annual meetings, I think in the June, and we're always kind of looking for projects and stuff, and if we get a lot of this in early enough, it could become part of our fundraising ventures we do. So if you can,
Can I answer that, Lynn? Firstly, both organisations are involved with the Bike Schools Park now. Roger Patterson's representing the Lions. Walter Vanderklay and I are there on behalf of Rotary. Both organisations have already contributed money to the initial planning and design. Both have indicated an ongoing willingness to support. And so, yes, the short answer is that information will be going out to all the service clubs and probably a whole lot of others as well.
And then just go to the individual clubs as well, because often stuff gets stuck at the, just keep filtering, if you know all the individual Lions clubs or Rotary, just keep filtering it through.
I can cover the Rotary ones. I'm not sure about the Lions ones, but we'll bear that in mind and see what we can do. Thank you.
We have had, at the Bike Schools Park meeting, we do have quite a few representatives, and we're just waiting for the detailed design to be done before a lot of information goes out, so that we can then work out our costings and get the fundraising underway. But we have had donations so far from both of the Rotary clubs, and they helped with the concept design. So it's not going to be a quick project. I think we all know it's going to be take a bit of time. So we're just working through that. Any other questions for Leslie? No, thank you. Anything else to add?
Yeah, one thing, Madam Chair. Firstly, thank you again for your financial support for what we do on both fronts, or on the wider front, Safer Mid-Canterbury and Safer Communities. I'd like you to consider seriously rolling some funding together for a number of those things, age-friendly, personal safety, and set up a fund for elderly people in their mid-70s who keep falling off their e-bikes.
Wonder who that would be. Thank you very much for coming in. Appreciate your time. We've got one last report to go, and I see Sarah at the back there. Sarah, do you have a PowerPoint, or are you just going to talk to? You'll just talk to. That's great, thank you. So, councillors, we do have 3 pages on our Stella that have come through from Sarah. And this has just been live streamed as well, Sarah, so. Yeah. Right, floor's yours.
Thank you. Now I've got to wait for my computer to load.
That's right. So what we've just done with all the reports is just get you to do your presentation, and at the end we'll take some questions.
Fantastic. So you've all received my annual report.
Yes.
We had our AGM just recently, and it was really great to have everybody there. Sorry, my computer's still loading. Firstly and foremost, just want to say thank you so much for your support. Obviously, we've just moved to a 3-year funding, so I really appreciate that. It gives us a lot of security and stability in our funding, which is in this time is just great. So thank you. I was trying to be clever doing it paperless, but like every time I bring my, it printed out. So clearly I will do that next time because it's a lot more efficient. Okay. So So obviously talking about that funding, we had funding from, in the last financial year, from Rotary of Ashburton. So we were the recipient of the raffle prize. So at the Bookarama, so we got just shy of $2,000 from Rotary, which was fantastic. We really appreciate that. We've got funding from Lottery, we've got funding from Community Trust Mid and South Canterbury, COGS, we've got 3-year funding from them, and obviously from yourselves. So obviously we had 21 volunteers, up from 17 the year before. This includes 2 other volunteers and their community board members, which we're allowed to put onto our board. The rest have to be accredited volunteer interviewers. So those 2 are a community representative from here at the library and also a local barrister, which is great. We worked with 856 clients over the past year, which is an increase from 717 from the previous year. Face-to-face and by phone continue to be the main methods that people are accessing our service. So that's just coming into Community House and needing help or being referred by agencies like the council, which is great, and other social services like the police. The volunteers, we've got a great range of volunteers with a lot of skills. We have some people that go away on holiday and people that look after grandkids. So a lot of our volunteers are in that older age group, so it's quite a challenge to, at the moment, we're a bit light on numbers. So I am allowed to let them have time off, but it would be great if they didn't. We've also got a couple of younger volunteers and one who's 21 and, looking at getting kind of employment. So been doing a bit of promotion around that space of looking at, volunteering as an option between jobs or instead of jobs and things like that. So with the current market, it's probably quite a good thing to be promoting volunteering. Obviously, we have, I've talked about the funders and the raffle and supporters. Obviously, National Office, the team in Wellington do a huge amount of work to give us the actual platform that we work on and also all the Your Rights articles that we look up. So just want to acknowledge that the support that we get from there is huge. Also Community House has been great, which is wonderful. We've also got a couple of community groups. We've got Maria Jimenez who provides our immigration advice clinic for free, she does it for free, which is great. Mike Johnson has got a HR employment business and he is based here a couple of days a week and he provides free advice to our volunteers and to also clients as well, as long as there's no conflict of interest between the businesses he manages, but that's fantastic. And also Warren James from Anglican Advocacy, we make a lot of referrals to him in terms of that mediation space where people want to have a support person to go to a meeting or an appointment. It's a really valuable service for our community and just want to acknowledge how important that is for us. So just thought I'd go through a couple of the stats. So we had 3 volunteers become accredited volunteers over the year, which is great, 3 new ones. We've got now volunteers that speak Dutch and also Indian Fijian volunteer. So that's just increasing that capacity that we can do to support different nationalities. And also we can access, the 2,000 other volunteers around the country, and there's multiple languages that they speak around the country, which is great, and we can access all of that, as well as accessing this interpreting service if we need to. So like I said, 856 inquiries. The biggest jump in that is attending clinics. So we had we ran 2 incorporated societies clinics to help people with the changes to the incorporated societies through community law, and so that was well attended. We put it out to all the people on the community directory that were part of trusts. Our IRD clinic, we had 51 people attend that clinic, so that's just huge. That's only stats for 6 months. So it's been full every month that we've run that clinic. Everything from people wanting to start up a business to know about stuff through trusts and they're wanting to set stuff up, and also like child support and working for families and debt repayment and all sorts of different things. We had, since obviously in the next financial year, we had the YMCA, they brought in 9 of their students that they were hoping to kind of work with and place into employment, but none of them knew their IRD number or had issues with KiwiSaver and things like that bouncing back and just all those little kind of things, and they just want somebody to talk to. They're too nervous to talk about on the phone. So they just want to talk to somebody face to face. So I think that's really important. Our whole service is about that, but it's really important with those government services going more online that people just don't want to do that. And that's obviously shows that it's not just an older person's thing. Young people don't want to do it either, so we need to remember that. And obviously the immigration clinic, we had 10 people accessing that over the month, which is really good. There was obviously lots of changes with the new government, and so we've had a few more inquiries regarding that. So our main topics of inquiries obviously were legal stuff, family and personal, finance and benefit, and community. We had lots about relationships, and our main stuff continues to be about employment and contracts and conditions, workplace bullying, all that sort of stuff, just challenges in the workplace environment. We are seeing a lot of contracts and stuff that are just not New Zealand law. Some new or young or uninformed business owners that just Google job contracts, and it's just not enforceable in New Zealand law. They've Googled it from another country, and they think it looks good. One guy turned up the other day about to take something to work and income to say that he was going to work, and it was just a one-page thing on this is what you're going to work these days. That was it. So yeah, just some really challenging stuff in that space. So workplace clinics and stuff is going to be really important. Client profile, we continue to be in that older age group. Obviously Leslie said that we're increasing in our age here of the over 65s, and that's showing definitely in our stats in terms of our ages. Ethnicity, we've had our top 5 countries of origin were Fiji, Philippines, Tonga, Samoa and India, which is quite a change from the last one, which was Netherlands, Tonga, India, Germany and Ireland. So quite a change in the countries of origin. Also, the people that are accessing that service, the majority of them have been in New Zealand for 5 years or more already. So they're not kind of new migrants. They've been here for ages. A lot of them are 10 years plus and, you know, still having issues or coming up with new problems or challenges. In terms of our trends over the year, we see dips over in Christmas and New Year, and obviously the school holidays as well, which is quite interesting, people accessing our service. And obviously thanks to our funding. Some other things since this report I just wanted to bring up. We've increased our hours, so we are open 3 more shifts a week, so 3 more afternoons a week from what we were previously open. We since had a volunteer pass away. That's been quite challenging for the volunteers. It was quite a shock, and yeah, we're all just kind of dealing with that. There was no funeral, so we haven't really had a chance to process it properly. So yeah, hopefully next month with our training we'll be able to do something special there. We've had increasing inquiries from people wanting to set up new businesses and just don't know where to start and what to do. So looking at, I've spoken with the business, Canterbury Business, to run a clinic, just for people to come in and have a chat about starting up a new business and what they should do or where they should look, which is quite good, and hopefully run a clinic about that. I've done a heap of work at Mount Hart College. I've been and did a presentation at the parent-teacher interviews. I've done 2 Careers Expo days there, and I've presented to all the Year 11 classes as well. So I've done heaps of work there just promoting the youth website, the new one that I showed you guys last time, and also talking about the driver's licences, employment, getting insurance with your car, all that sort of stuff, tenancy and flatmates and all that sort of stuff when you go, and just that we're here for any question they have. So just promoting that website as much as possible. So yeah. The other thing we're doing now is we've just signed up nationally to Awhi, which is a app for the police. So the police, when they go to a call out, may decide that it's not quite going to result in a police, issue, but that the person has issues and needs a bit of advice. So we're now on their app, and that they can refer to CAB with their permission, and we'll get the referral and follow up. And it could be regarding tenancy, it could be neighbourhood dispute, it could be all sorts of different stuff. So that'll be really interesting. We've had our first referral through, pretty complicated, complex case, but hopefully it'll be a good link in there. Lastly, I just wanted to mention the Need Help booklet. I'm not sure if Kevin mentioned it, but we will be doing the update for next year, so we'll be starting the update at the end of this year. Thanks very much to Safer Mid Canterbury for fitting the bill for the printing of all of that. Huge resource. We printed 4,000 copies over the last 2 years of that booklet. Phenomenal response in terms of clients, but also in terms of social agencies. The hospital was probably the biggest source of collecting or wanting those booklets to give out to people, because they just wanted to be able to pass on a booklet to somebody in need at the time. So all the district nurses, the ER department, just everybody just wanting to be able to pass on those books. So that's really great. It is, when there's an emergency, when there's stuff going on, you want to be able to flick through that booklet, and time again, people have just said how important it is to be able to flick through something, when communications are down or anything. And when you don't know what's available, to be able to flick through that and to be able to see what's there. And when somebody talks to you down the street later or at the hairdressers and says, I've got this problem, you're like, oh, I saw that, there's this here. So it's really, incredible resource. Already Leslie's spoken to me about an older adults version. Not too sure whether that's going to be a go, or whether we'll do maybe some logos, whether it's, an older person or child friendly or that sort of stuff, or look at some different options like that for the next one. But yeah, definitely going to be reprinting that, so that's great. So that's all I've got today. Is there any questions?
Thanks so much, Sarah. That's a great update. I have one question. The pop-ups or sort of mini CABs at other smaller towns, has that been progressing at all?
Yeah, so we've been looking at doing something in Methven. We, in conjunction with some of the other agencies, so a bit of a collab between Anglican Advocacy and the youth support and things like that. So I've been doing a bit of talking with the Mount Hart College to try and see if it would be suitable to do something where the young people can access it as well. So yeah, still working on that. Yeah.
Yep. That's great. Thank you. Question from Russell.
Thank you. Firstly, thank you for the work you do supplying a much needed service in the town. Did you know that council actually has an economic development arm that is promoting new businesses and things? So if you want a workshop run, maybe we might be able to work in with you through that. So I'm sure Tony will be able to give you some contact details, or someone can, and might be a good way of promoting some new businesses in the district.
Perfect. Thanks, Russell.
Carolyn?
Thank you, Sarah. That's marvellous, what you've achieved in such a very short period of time. I'm looking at the third attachment we've got, performance report, and in there it talks about, on page, let me just get there, grants and donations, page 6, grants and donations, fundraising and other similar receipts, zero, and the $100 last year. Do you do fundraising?
So we do a little stand at our own volunteers. We have a sales table, so they bring on some cake and baking and stuff like that. Yeah, so we've done a few things like that. Obviously, I've talked about this in the past. It's quite hard to do fundraising in terms of business support, so we do rely heavily on those trusts. We've just been looking at some kind of raffles or what to do, guess the lolly in the jar, that sort of stuff. We've just been donated over 40 jigsaw puzzles. So we're just, our new fundraiser for the year and possibly ongoing is a bit of a play on the words, you know, life's a puzzle, you've got a puzzle, we'll help you solve it, all that sort of stuff. So we've got all these jigsaw puzzles that we've just kind of displayed in our office, and then people can come in and take a puzzle, and not aimed at clients. This is for people that are wanting to support our service.
Yeah.
So people can come in, grab a puzzle, give us a donation, and then bring it back, and they might get a discount for the next one.
Oh, marvellous.
Yeah, so already sold 3 puzzles, and it's only just started this week.
And
so
you're putting that on your Facebook page?
we'll start promoting it,
Yeah.
absolutely. The volunteers have had great fun trying to get some
get
catchphrases
some,
and
yeah.
stuff like that, so it's been quite fun, yeah.
It's a really good idea, thank you. Someone who's very good at guessing how many lollies are in a jar. Neil?
Thanks, Liz. Well done, Sarah. It's a great report, and thanks for all the work you do for our community with the CAB. Just have one question. It's around the auditor reading the accounts, and you've got an auditor in Wellington.
Yep.
And I'm thinking shop local, etc. here in Ashburton.
Yep.
So why do you use an auditor in Wellington?
Yep, so the auditor in Wellington is doing it on agreed upon procedures. That's from National Office, and they were approached to do it for the majority of the CABs. So that's what they do. They do, yeah, the majority of CABs have gone with them because they're running it from an agreed procedure. So we can obviously look to shop around, but we know that they are doing all the other CABs, and yeah, it's kind of an easier process. They know what to look for, they know what to see. So it's only been doing that for the last 2 years they've brought that in. So obviously something that we can look at for. A lot of not-for-profit trusts and stuff have obviously had people do it pro bono, or, you know, for free to none really. So it's been quite a shock for a lot of the CABs to have to pay this. But also it is, I guess it brings a certain standard and a level of, you know, standardised around the country. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. But I'll certainly look at it for the future to see if that's, you know, another option. But yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. No further questions? No, that was a great update. Thank you so much, Sarah. Appreciate you coming in and all the work that you're doing.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. We have now finished for the morning, so we can turn off the live stream. Thanks for joining us.